Stephen A. Smith lights up the Democrats and keeps it real for all of his followers. 6 million or so plus whatever on X. I think he's got almost 1 million subscribers on YouTube and wherever else he is. Bless him. Shout out to my brother Stephen A. Smith, because this is, for me, the most exciting piece of news or something to cover this week so far. I mean, it's only Tuesday, but even in the last week, for me, forget the drones over New Jersey, forget all the conspiracy theories and all the, psyop theories that this might be and whatever it could be, and they're trying to stop Trump and his inauguration. There's all these different speculation revolving around all this. Forget about that. This is happening over there. This is happening over there. Trump settles ABC and George Stephanopoulos, $15 million. Oh, this is all great stuff. But nothing comes close to my man Stephen A. Smith going in and keeping it real. And who's he keeping it real with? Who's he keeping it real with? He's keeping it real with his people, with his fans, with our people, with the brothers and the sisters, and the Democrats overall. But he is keeping it real for his audience and telling them, if y'all want to call me a Republican because I'm pointing out the issues with the Democratic Party, y'all need to get it together. I have been saying this to people for a long time. Before the election, before it ended, okay, in Trump's favor. And then after, I've been telling people, get over it, move on. You cannot continue to act as if there's nothing to examine about your own party, about Kamala Harris and Biden, and there's nothing to see here. We were perfect. And just blame everybody else and blame all the black men, all the men, period, the minorities, the Mexicans, whatever. Blaming everybody instead of going, maybe we ought to rethink our strategy. Maybe, whatever. Or maybe people found out that we do lie about stuff. We are not the high and mighty, righteous group that we pretend to be, right? Maybe that's not the case. So perhaps they need to examine themselves. And the people out there who accuse people like my brother Stephen A. Smith and like me and plenty of others who have stood up and stood their ground in terms of saying, hey, look, I don't have to support Trump to point out obvious issues with the Harris campaign and with that whole mess, that whole circus that they tried to feed the American people this last election. So for Stephen A. Smith to be calling this out, we're going to watch this. I want to watch this. I want to talk about it because this, for me, I want to pin this on my page and just look. Time to Talk Podcast. Welcome to Time to Talk Podcast. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed and join us here. But let's get into this.
Now let's move on to some politics and social media where some of you, no surprises, you're just continuing to piss me off. Why? Because every time I make a comment that's critical of the Democratic Party or the left, I get accused of being a pundit for the right. Prior to the election cycle, I voiced my concerns about Joe Biden and his ability to serve as second term as president. Then Biden stepped on the debate stage in late June and revealed what many suspected. He embarrassed himself. The White House and the Democrats eventually switched to Vice President Kamala Harris when he stepped away, who ultimately ran what some would say a valiant presidential campaign, at least in the eyes of some, that ultimately fell short with voters across the country. I pointed out my concerns with the campaign and the Democratic Party along the way, and many of you wanted to accuse me of being a voice for the right. So you know what? I feel like it's time to set the record straight because ain't nobody hiding, ain't nobody running. Okay? Let me be very, very clear. I'm a registered independent because I don't trust either side. I think both sides are full of it on so many levels and so many circumstances, it's nauseating. But I also want to take a moment because a lot of people out there on social media have been saying to me, here, Stephen A., you take these positions, you're frustrated with the Democratic Party, but then you voted for Kamala Harris against Trump. Why? It's very, very simple. I believe that Donald Trump has been a divisive figure. And I was thinking coming into this election that the last thing we needed was 4 more years of what we saw the last time, where there was so much strife and so much division that even though the economy clearly was doing well under his watch before COVID struck, it was just too much for the country to take. I was fearful of civil war in this country. It wasn't so much that he was supportive of white supremacist and he was this racist and all of this stuff like people were saying. I didn't engage in that incendiary rhetoric because I've always believed that Donald Trump was just somebody who did things that were politically expedient. If supporting one side was going to generate votes for him, he would flow with it. And if it was not going to support his cause, he wasn't. It's just simple. It's just that simple. Why did I say that? And why did I refrain from that incendiary rhetoric that was thrown in his direction? It was because I knew Donald Trump before he ran for president. And black, whites, male, females, and everybody in between got along with him great. So for all of a sudden, everybody to stand up and act like he was this pariah was BS. But I was also acknowledging he didn't help his own cause. From the moment in 2015 when he strolled down those escalators with Melania, the man offended 50% of the population back then in 2015. Came across as xenophobic in the eyes of many. And it just seemed to go downhill from there. So after he served his 4 years in the White House, I didn't want a repeat of all of that. But I didn't call him a racist. I didn't compare him to Nazis. I didn't sit up there and accuse him of befriending white supremacists and all of that stuff because I knew no matter what people believed, they were trying to politicize it.
100%. 100%. And it's interesting because you can't have a conversation with somebody rationally about the idea. So if they don't understand how legacy media works, they don't understand who legacy media is beholden to and who they work for and who they are a mouthpiece for. If they don't understand that and they don't see the obviousness of like the Russiagate situation, if they're not aware that there's all this conspiracy to keep Trump from taking the office, and that it's always been like that since the moment he came down the escalator, like Smith just referenced, right? It's been an attack on this guy because he represents something from the outside. And nobody wanted him coming in, shaking up Washington, D.C., Democrats and Republicans. If you remember, Republicans hated him too. So it's been a nonstop effort by the media to bring this guy down through so many means. But you can't explain that to normal people who just look at him and they get all of their information about him from the legacy media. So every little thing becomes, oh, he's there. Now, again, I'm not excusing some of his behavior and saying that he doesn't step in his own doo-doo by the way he speaks, the way he handles things. And I think Stephen Smith is talking about the same thing, right? This idea that he steps in it and puts himself in a situation to sound xenophobic, to sound racist, to sound misogynistic, and perhaps he is. There are things about him that I clearly disagree with and clearly find to be deplorable. As far as a character goes, he's a character. But at the same point, you can't not see the media assassination on him and how long it's lasted, and the Democrats, their attempt to take this guy down and assassinate him overall, his character, and possibly even physically. So, but you can't have that conversation with people, and right away they think that you're defending Trump and suggesting he's the best thing for America.
So when I thought about him against Kamala Harris, I said, excuse me, let me make sure Republicans are in the House and the Senate. You have somebody that's going to work with both sides in the White House, and we'll have peace domestically. That's what I was thinking. But under no circumstances was I this raving supporter of Kamala Harris. I saw her during the primaries in 2020. I saw that she couldn't get to Iowa. I saw her comments about transgenders, particularly those in prison that wanted sex changes. I saw how incoherent she appeared in communicating what her objective would be when it came to the economy. I know for a fact that she was supposed to oversee the issues involving the border. Yes, like Roland Martin said, she wasn't the quote-unquote border czar, but she was perceived as such. I also saw her go on The View and categorically deny that there was any need to change anything that Biden had done, even though over 12 million people crossed the border illegally, and you were acting like there was no border crisis. I saw the duplicitous tendencies. I saw the inconsistencies. I also saw the hypocrisy. And as the election came about and ultimately unfolded, and I saw Donald Trump win convincingly. No, he did not get 50% of the popular vote, as the Democrats are so quick to point out. My attitude to them is shut the hell up. Nobody wants to hear that now. Who cares whether he got 50% of the vote or not? He beat you in the popular.
Exactly. Move on. I try to tell these people, I've been saying it. What are you going to do? Sit around and complain? This is, and obviously these shows like The View being the most the loudest of the bunch out there, making it seem as if we're all doomed and the world's going to end, instead of just saying, okay, he won, let's get back to the drawing board and let's support our president and figure out and hope. Like I always say, I just have optimism in the situation. Doesn't mean I support or like him or believe he's not going to do some things that are, inherently bad for my community, for my people, for the country in general. We don't know how his whole thing is going to work out with the Project 25 and the people behind the scenes. We don't know who's running what. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out as far as the wars go. Is he going to be the guy who's anti-war, or is he still, again, clearly he's a puppet of, Adelson, right? Miriam Adelson, $100 million plus AIPAC in general is in this. Like, it's hard to figure it all out. Is RFK Jr. going to clean up big pharma and the healthcare and all that stuff? And we're going to get all that cleaned up? Is this all going to work out? Is Elon Musk there pulling the strings with him, the richest man in the world ever of all time? What is his agenda? How does it play out for us, the American people, as opposed to just them and the billionaires and all those people? How does this all work out? We can't figure it out, people. We can't stress out, but we can't sit here and just constantly raise our fist and get our axes and pitchforks and torches together to go get Trump. We got to stay focused on hating him. It's pointless. It's pointless. You lost. Move on.
Vote and the Electoral College vote. He swept the swing states. He improved his numbers in every demographic imaginable. Blacks, Hispanics, women. He beat you. And the American people spoke, and they spoke flagrantly. And from that moment forward, I'm like, damn all of that. We're going to support the fact that he won the presidency. And I'm going to tell you where I'm at with it. And that doesn't mean I'm going to become some registered Republican, because I still find them a bit shaky. But when I see Attorney Bragg in New York trying to convince the judge and the courts to treat Donald Trump as if he's deceased, as if he has died, just to make sure that your convictions on those 34 felony accounts remains a part of the record, it just shows another level of patheticness, if that is such a word, that creeps in. Once again, you can't let it go. He is the president-elect of the United States of America. In January 20th, he is going to be the president of the United States. And you want to sit up here and waste taxpayer dollars and literally go before the courts to do everything you can to make his conviction a matter of record, knowing he ain't going to get any jail time. You're not going to be able to incarcerate him. You're not going to be able to fine him. Sir, it's over. It's over. Democrats, it's over. It's over. I'm going to say this before and I'll say it again. You know what I would do if I were Joe Biden, President Joe Biden? Especially since I basically gave the Democratic Party the finger because you kept saying, we follow the rule of law, we follow the rule of law, we follow the rule of law. And then you went and you circumvented all of that to get to pardon your son Hunter. Since you were willing to do that, if I was President Joe Biden, I would pardon Donald Trump. I'm going to say it again. I would pardon Donald Trump.
Now there's an interesting possibility. There's an interesting thought on that. I don't know. If I would.
For one reason and one reason only. To move the hell on. Enough's enough. Enough's enough. You tried to get him if you Nancy Pelosi. You tried to get him if you Chuck Schumer. You tried to get him if you were the Dems in the Senate and the House. You tried to get him if you were the FBI. You tried to get him if you were the Department of Justice. You tried to get him. I mean, damn. Russian collusion. What happened? See, we keep talking and talking and talking. And all we see at the end of the day is that you inconvenience Donald Trump and you cause them headaches. Probably forced him to take a few doses of Motrin or Tylenol. That's all you did. You ain't doing anything else to him. He is back in the White House next month. All that shit y'all did, all the stuff you pulled, you had your surrogates out there, your pundits out there, you engaged in lawfare, you did everything. And you convinced the American people, yo, his ass belongs in jail. And where he going instead? Back to the White House. So, of course, when you see that preponderance of evidence that ultimately hits us, with the reality is that no matter how hard you try, whatever mechanisms you put in place, whatever, tactics you utilized, it all amounted to nothing. Joe Biden, they caught him sleeping at an African conference in Angola. Donald Trump wide awake going back to the White House.
I mean, it is just fantastic that he's doing this. I wonder what the fallout, or if any, will be with his audience. I'm gonna have to go through. I want to go look at X and look at the YouTube on this video and look at the comments, because I want to see how many people outright just support his position and where he's at with this and how frustrated he is, and are they echoing the same sentiment, right? Or are there a bunch of haters, a bunch of people who are going to call him out and take his black card and do all sorts of stuff? I really want to see how that works out. Jump up a little bit.
On that note, it is what it is. That's why I'm an independent. I flow with either side. But what I don't like about the Democratic Party at this particular moment in time, you keep walking around on your moral high horse, acting like you're above reproach. You're President Biden, he's my son. That's all you had to say. I can't let my son go to jail. I'm sorry, America. Simple. But instead, you try to get on your high horse and act like they were after him because of you, and try to make it into something political. Stop. This is what the Democrats repeatedly do. And you've gotten away with it for far too long. I've never been a fan of Elizabeth Warren for one reason and one reason only. I know her heart's in the right place. I know she's smart as a whip. I know she's very capable. My only problem with her is that if you don't agree with her, you're going to hell. Something must be wrong with your soul to disagree with her. That bothers me. I looked at Obama, former President Barack Obama, my president, who I admire and revere, and watched him talk to black men like that and accuse us of misogynistic tendencies because we may not be supporting Kamala Harris. How come it couldn't be her policies? We supported Hillary Rodham Clinton. Sick of it. Sick of the Democrats walking around like they have such a higher moral compass, a higher moral foundation than everybody else. No, enough of that demagoguery. Enough of that fear-mongering. No, your behinds need to go out there and learn to politic better to win. Make sure your issues are better. Make sure you're capable of doing a better job. Wes Moore, Governor of Maryland, you'd have my vote tomorrow, my brother.
Anyway, Stephen A. Smith keeping it real. I just, when I saw that and watched that, man, listen. I mean, it's so dead on. He's just calling it out. And I like that he's doing it with passion. He's doing it with anger. He's clearly frustrated, as a lot of people are. A lot of people, and then keep it real, a lot of my brothers, black men, this idea that we went through this whole attack phase as soon as the election was over, and it was all about staying away from men, hating black men. We're misogynists. You didn't vote for her. That means I can't understand you and your values. Your character must be corrupt. There's something wrong with you. She didn't win, so it must be your fault, blah, blah, blah. I'm not talking for a couple of years. I'm going to disappear. I'm leaving the country. I'm not dating anymore. I'm not having sex anymore, with all sorts of nonsense. And we went through a lot of that. So we're frustrated. So to hear Brother Stephen A. Smith express that frustration, that anger, that resentment that we're feeling, and to tell the Democrats straight out with his voice, again, with his following and his fame, his platform, hopefully that will land on the right ears, and hopefully people will hear that. Hopefully people take that serious. I got to check the comments. I want to see the feedback on this and see to what degree he, is taken serious, or, how many people push back on him. I really want to see what those numbers look like. There's also something else. Let's check this this video. There's something else Stephen A. Smith related. I was actually going to lead with this particular one, but I think the other one is more over encompassing and kind of includes this. But he did this video on, I guess this might have even been a day before the one that we just watched, but this is dealing with January 6th and the information that was released, regarding this FBI report on whether there were FBI agents.
I want to get into some politics before we get on out of here, as we've now entered the final month of Joe Biden's presidency. And for the sake of argument, it hasn't been a good one. The Democrats lost the White House, Senate, and House in the November election. Meanwhile, this week, FBI Director Christopher Wray announced plans to resign at the end of the Biden administration as President-elect Donald Trump takes office in January. The news comes amidst a bombshell report from the Justice Department that revealed the FBI had at least 26 confidential informants on the ground when the Capitol was stormed on January 6, 2021. The report says most of the informants engaged in illegal activity during the chaos. The Justice Department says only 3 of its 26 informants present had been instructed to observe potential domestic terrorist suspects on the day of the riot. The rest of the 23 appear to have gone to the Capitol on their own accord. Upon hearing news of the report, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance posted the following on X, quote, "For those keeping score at home, this was labeled a dangerous conspiracy theory months ago," end quote. So 23 folks for the FBI were in the crowd. And we're just finding that out. Didn't hear anything about that for the election.
Exactly. So he's just finding that out. Plenty of other people in alternative or fringe media, which is actually not fringe media anymore. It's actually becoming larger media than legacy media. So legacy media is actually a reversal, right? But plenty of people were aware that the January 6th riots were not just, it wasn't just Trump said, go storm the Capitol, go be violent, go take it over. And all these people went there ransacking the place. The cops tried to stop them, but they took it over. That's not what happened. We knew that a while ago. I'm glad Brother Stephen A. Smith is now, because of this report and other people who are paying attention, who actually go beyond legacy media. I hope that they're paying attention to this as well, even though the report is still being spun in multiple ways. Let's just listen to Stephen Smith.
Didn't hear anything about that when the quote-unquote insurrection was broached by Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee, by President Biden before her, by Democrats in both the House and the Senate as they articulated the belief that Donald Trump was a danger to democracy and using this as a profound, illuminating bullet point to make that case. And now here we are yet again finding even more evidence to Donald Trump's claims when he articulated that the process is rigged, the Democrats are this or that, they're talking about us, but look at what they do. We don't know all the details. It's a report. Justice Department comes out with this. That's not my big issue. My big issue is that I'm really, really sick and tired of every time I turn around finding something else that the Democrats have lied about or downplayed or misrepresented along the way. Where's the $1.5 billion that was given to the Democratic Party? Where is it? Where'd the money go? Why was Oprah given $2.5 million? Why was Al Sharpton's National Action Network given that much money? Before interviews, by the way. Why? I think it was $500K for the National Action Network. Why? I want to be clear. I don't have any problem with the National Action Network taking that money because they don't have a lot of money. I have more of a problem with Oprah taking $2.5 million when she's worth over $1 billion. But speaking to us as if her heart and soul was so immersed in supporting Kamala Harris. Well, then why didn't you do it for free? I'm just asking. I'm just asking these things because I think it's important. And I think that the time has arrived where we have to stop letting stuff go all the time, particularly when it comes to the left. I mean, I see Republicans like Megyn Kelly or Officer Tatum or Candace Owens or, the Sean Hannitys of the world. You know what I'm getting tired of? You know what I'm getting to the Democratic Party. You know what I'm getting really pissed off about? I'm getting really ticked off at every time they open their mouth about something pertaining to y'all, they seem right.
Exactly. Again, trying to tell people throughout the entire process running up to the election, especially after the coup on Biden and inserting Kamala with no primary, trying to explain to people what the Democrats are doing, trying to explain the hypocrisy and all that's going on behind the scenes with them, and trying to explain that mess and ask questions. And these like Harris supporters in their bubbles and these Democratic supporters, especially, black women who I encountered and speak with about this, including in my own family, who are just don't do any research, don't know anything, but just know for sure they're going to put I'm with her on their Facebook pages, social media pages, and just swear allegiance to this woman. But you can't say a word. And then when you mention certain factual things that are coming from someone like Candace Owens or even Alex Jones, like way out, right? Let's do that. Or Tucker Carlson said this, that, those people don't know. But then it all turns out to be true. And there's all evidence and there's receipts for it all. And still, you can tell that to somebody. I could tell someone right now in my family a couple of things and that are factual, that are easily verifiable. And I can debunk things for them that they have swirling in their minds. And they will totally just ignore it or act like it's not there. And what brother Stephen Smith here is pointing out is like, we're tired. Like, people are tired of, it seems to us, like people are waking up to what the Democrats are. And I hope this continues. I hope this becomes a thing. And I hope, again, with his platform, his audience, I hope people wake up. I want to hear what, his fans are going to say. But
I would love to argue with Sean Hannity. How can I? Do you know what Sean Hannity used to do to me when I told him Kamala Harris had a chance? He'd laugh. Like literally, genuinely giggle. He'd go on TV and put on his straight face to y'all. You got to be concerned. This election could go either way. He laughed. He wasn't concerned about her. Before I called out Biden, he was calling Biden Sleepy Joe. What's percolating on social media today? Just go and look at it, y'all. Joe Biden is caught napping at an African summit in Angola for at least a full minute. They didn't say whether he was snoring or not.
Yeah, look, y'all get the gist. Clearly, to use probably the most obvious example, all of us in the fringe or whatever, Joe Rogan, all these people, all knew that this guy, that Biden was in mental decline, okay? Cognitive decline. It was obvious he had no business running for the United States of America for presidency. And he shouldn't have been president at the time. He should have taken him out. They should have removed him from office. This man is not competent, especially considering the crisis that our world faces and what's going on in it, okay? And the Democrats, all the supporters, all of the media that are, again, owned by them, continue to say the people on the fringe, they're all nuts. He's sharp as a tack. He's the best I've ever seen. He's the sharpest I've ever seen him. He's great. Everybody, until that fateful night at the debate. And then everyone shut up and was like, oops, so maybe he is, there is something wrong with him. And then they caught up. So basically, all you Democrats and Harris supporters, you're all just way behind us. And that's not because we're so smart or anything along those lines, or so prescient and we understand and know everything and predict everything, but it's simply because we are not locked into a bubble of legacy media like you are. You're stuck in one spot, so you don't understand the full picture of things, and yet you still try to debate, still try to talk, still try to have an opinion, which in my eyes is just pointless. You know, that's all it comes down to. Anyway, I'm glad that Brother Stephen A. Smith said what he had to say. I am very, very, I want that to just run on a loop. They should run that on the morning shows or something. Let's see what happens. Time to Talk Podcast. Subscribe if you've not yet subscribed. We're growing. We're almost at 5,000. We're doing this pretty quick. We started in September, end of September. It's December now. Christmas is around the corner. What, 8 days away? And we're growing the channel. I'm going to keep talking to you guys about stuff. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Stephen A. Smith and how he's, basically venting his frustration with folks and with the critiques on the Democratic Party, and let me know if you think this is going to come back at him the wrong way. I don't know. You agree? You disagree? Like the video on the way out. That definitely helps everything in the background so we can keep growing and I can keep bringing you content. I truly appreciate y'all being here. I'll see you on the next Time to Talk podcast. Peace.